Let's build a mine layer. Come on, lads. Okay, guys, and welcome to Let's Build a Mine Layer, or a Mine Pig. Now, this is the first episode of this actual little mini series that I'm doing. Well, it's the second how do you say it? The second season, should I say, of the Let's Build mini-series, and obviously we finished the Stomper and we're going to be building a Mine Pig / Mine Layer. However, it's such a big vehicle, it's such a big flying vehicle as well, finding a suitable hull was quite difficult. And obviously the format will be like Let's Build a Stomper. I'm just talking to you guys now just because I wanted a different camera angle. And basically for the hull I chose to use this 1.5, I think it's a 1.5 litre Coca-Cola bottle. However, as you guys can see, flimsy mimsy. It's fannying about. It's really, really flimsy stuff. So what we're going to do, we're going to bring in some expanding foam filler. Now, actually, I wanted to use this camera angle because I wanted to film like a time-lapse thing of actually the foam expanding and stuff. But what I'm going to do, I'm just going to fill this in as it is now. Let me just attach the nozzle. There we go. Oh, balls knocking it all over. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to move the camera back because this thing's going to be fucking massive. I'm not going to be able to get it all in the shot. Oh my days. It's a huge bottle. But yeah, so without further ado, let's foam it up. Shit the bed. That's a lot of foam. Wow, holy crap. Okay, time for time lapse. Okie dokie, guys, so this has been well, I've had this footage on my computer for a long time, so I do apologise for this voiceover. What we're going to do, we're going to start out by sanding the actual thing down, because as you saw on the time lapse and the super time lapse, there was a lot of excess foam that came out. It dribbled all down it and it just made a right mess, so I was scraping it off and sanding it down. Also, what I found as well is that because of the amount of foam that I put in, I should have actually done it in several stages rather than all at once, because what happened was the top layer dried first and it actually left the middle of it really gooey and gloopy still. So what I decided to do, I decided to hack off both the ends of the Coke bottle, so in order to let both sides dry. I also stabbed it a load of times with a knife to allow airflow into it and right in the centre of it so that it would fully harden, because one thing that I didn't want this to do, I wanted a really nice stable area to work on. I didn't want it to be all fucking flimsy and everything like that, so it was essential that this thing had to have a rigid interior. This is me just trying to fucking about with the expanding foam, because I noticed that again in the middle it hadn't quite solidified yet, so I'm just injecting some more in there, and in an effect to try and again reinforce the interior even more so. What I found was that it kind of kept just staying liquid in there. The premise behind the foam filler is once it makes contact with oxygen, that's when it starts expanding, and that's when it starts hardening as well. If there's no oxygen to it, as in if it's already been cut off by some already hardened areas, then it's just going to stay liquid and it's going to lose its effect. So what I'm doing now, I'm sanding down some more of it, because again, where I stabbed it all over in order to let air flow through, I found that even though it was still slightly wet inside, it was still expanding through the slits that I'd made. So I had to leave it for a little while in there in order to just fucking dry, I suppose. What I'm doing, I'm rolling out some green stuff, and what I'm going to be doing, I'm going to be using the green stuff to attach a spray paint lid to the front of the bottle. Now this is going to be used as a way to extend the bottle out a little bit, but also to give me a little bit more something to attach other bits on. I also managed to get hold of a Stomper faceplate off of one of my fans off YouTube, so I do thank you for that, and that will be added in a later episode, but this was going to be perfect. Now I'm using green stuff to attach it to. because for some reason the actual plastic of the Coca-Cola bottle was not taking to poly cement very well. I did a bit of an experiment before I started shooting this. It just wouldn't stick, and it wouldn't give the substantial bond that I needed. So green stuff was the answer to that. Okay, so now what am I doing? Having let it all kind of dry and harden, I'm just going to make it all level off the top, and I'm going to build the back end of the mine layer. This is going to be, I mean, this is basically, all this is doing now, guys, is just getting the basic shape. But it involved me taking the bottle and literally drawing a square around it, well, cutting a square around it. I found this the best way to get circles. Once it's snapped out, then what I can do, I can actually glue it down, wait for the glue to dry, and then I can just hack the edges off as and when I need to. Another issue I also had in regards to this expanding foam was it didn't react with the super glue, which was good. However, it did absorb into the foam, into all the little honeycombs, all the little textures and stuff. It just absorbed completely into it. So in the end, I had to resort to using some more green stuff to sink into the foam in order to stick it down. Now, I would get around this rather weak way of bonding the plasticard to the foam by using more plasticard on the outside of it later on. And I'll cover that when I come to it. But yeah, we're literally just sticking down some blobs of green stuff and some little sausages of green stuff in order for it to fucking stick, because it just wasn't having it at all. What else can I really say? This did work quite well. However, as I was cutting it out, as you guys will see in just a second, I could hear and feel the foam actually moving, actually coming apart. So that wasn't exactly ideal. What I also decided to do was to cut some more holes in it in order to make it a little bit, well, in order to make it dry a little bit more. And also what I'm doing here, I'm thinking of how I'm going to make the propulsion system for the not the stomper. I'm so used to saying stomper, guys. What the fuck? For the mine layer. Now, what I was thinking of, I didn't want it to have boosters, because mine layers are supposed to be really slow and just kind of float about and fanny about out there and just shit out mines every now and again. So I was thinking to myself, what am I going to use as a propulsion system? I didn't want big-ass fucking rockets, because it's not a fast vehicle. So I decided I was going to put this crossbar going through the entire thing. And you guys will see shortly after, well, in the next probably couple of episodes, what I decided to do as the propulsion system, which is, I think it's a pretty good idea actually, and I quite enjoyed it. So currently what we're doing, I was kind of making the bar to go across, but in order to get through the foam, because some of it had already solidified in the middle, I had to cut the piece of plasticard square tubing into a point so I could pierce it and shove it through. And in the end it worked, albeit a little bit on the wonky side, but I thought, hey, it just added to the charm of the vehicle. So we're going to push that through. I got all the fucking... Another thing about this expanding foam stuff, guys, is that it's so horribly sticky. I think I mentioned that on the Stomper video at the beginning of that. As you can see there, it's just horrible and gloopy still, and that just wasn't solidifying. It was just staying a horrible sticky mess. Like your mum. Or maybe not. Sorry about that, guys. But yeah, so again, cutting more of the bottom of it off now that the green stuff had cured a little bit. I decided I was going to try and score it with a big ass fucking hunting knife, kind of utility knife that I had. And it worked okay, because I was using the Stanley knife end, but it just wasn't ideal. And this plastic card was very, very thick. It was like the thickest grade stuff that I had, so it was taking a bit of an issue. I decided then, rather than use the Stanley knife or the scalpel blade again, I would just go and clip the edges off, just to give it a nice rough finish and a nice rough feel to the end result of the back panelling. Okay, so this is me at the moment, just searching amongst the leaf litter of my desk for something to try out. Because whilst I had worked out what the main propulsion system was, I kind of wanted something a bit more along the sides. So I thought I'll use a glue pot, a poly cement pot, and I'll grease stuff a paper pot lid in order to make a kind of booster. But this was before I decided not to do that. So this was kind of just like a little bit of a failed experiment that I decided to use, because I thought that, hey, the glue pot is quite nicely shaped for a booster, and where the end of it is, where the obviously the screw top went, I was going to have a big cable, a big tube coming out into the actual main centre of it. However, I decided I wanted most of the stuff on the mine layer to be mostly externally based, because after all, the interior of the mine layer is supposed to be taken up with lots and lots of mines that the orcs just shove out. It was at this point as well that I started sticking down some plastic card panels to it, because this was going to be made predominantly out of just random bits of cut up plastic card I stuck on. I also thought about maybe doing some wire cabling wrapping around it in order to, make like the orcs have gone, oh fuck it, it's not fucking working, the rivets aren't riveting enough, let's put some fucking cabling around it and just tie it all together. Fucking yes. So I thought let's try that, but again, that's for a later episode. Literally, it's just a case of building up all the stuff that I actually had. I'd cut out, I mean, you can't see it here, but to the side of me, I had the most obscene piles of bent plastic card and bashed up plastic card in order to curve it round. Now, I had to bend the plastic card because the majority of the surface of this was convex. Yes, it was convex, so that I had to account for that, because I couldn't just stick straight plastic card on, because it wouldn't work, it wouldn't give the cylindrical effect that I wanted to. So all the plastic card had to be pre-bent beforehand. Now, I used a variety of techniques to bend the plastic card. I tried, for the smaller pieces, the strip-like pieces, I would just bend them around a hobby knife or a crafting tool and just keep doing it that way, just rinse and repeat. For the larger pieces, I just used to just chew them up so they became rather flexible and rather malleable. Then I would just bend them with my hands. Here's another bit where I'm trying to actually get the fucking back end of it stuck down. And also at the same time, a piece of plastic card that was just not cooperating. As I discovered fucking hell, I'm tired. I've only just woke up as well. As I discovered as well, the polycement still wouldn't stick properly, even when on a large surface area. So I had to kind of just grin and bear it. And in the end, I think I went over it off camera with super glue and just dripped super glue all into the crevices and stuff in order for it to cause a more substantial bond. Yeah, what else more can I really say? This was my first, one of my first scratch-built orc flying vehicles of this scale as well, and of these kind of dimensions. And I'll be honest with you, I wasn't actually used to working in these kind of dimensions before in a cylindrical shape. So you guys have to bear with me a little bit. Also, in regards to ruling and stuff for the mine layer, there is next to no rules. It's mentioned, and it was played in the campaign, and it's mentioned in certain apocalypse books, but it's just not fucking there. Games Workshop apparently did make a rule set for it, but from what I saw, I managed to download a PDF of it. Oh, Jesus Christ. I managed to download a PDF of it, and the rules just seemed like they were rushed and unfinished. Like, it had next to no vehicle upgrades that you could give it. It was very much just a one-time mission thing. So what I decided to do, I've decided to put my head together with the amazing mind of Mr. Pidge and actually come up with our own set of rules for it, based loosely off the pattern and the template that Games Workshop has supplied us. It's going to be awesome just seeing this thing just bumbling around. Apparently it comes armed with 3 big shooters and a def cannon. So I'm not entirely sure how I'm going to make the def cannon. I think I'm going to have it mounted in the front end of the hull, sticking out and making sure that it's rotatable. Other than that, I'm really not too sure. But yeah, as you can see, guys, the plating in the hull, I was leaving intentional gaps on this because I was thinking to myself, well, even though it is see-through, you're not going to see through it when it's painted. So the gaps were intentional in this because it would add just a little bit more of a degree of depth. Also, it was a lot easier for me, rather than making everything to measure and lining it all up, it was easier to just slap the plates down where I wanted them to go. Nice brew. Nice sup of a brew. But yeah, guys, so we are closing to the end of the first episode of Let's Build a Stomper. I'm going to try and make these episodes 10 to 15 minutes long, guys, just so people don't get uber bored with them. In regards to what's coming out later in the week, we will have, probably today, if not tomorrow, another D&D episode. We'll also have another episode of the Voxcaster, and we will possibly have a episode of Enter the Wolf Time by the end of the week as well. So stay tuned for that, guys. Yeah, tell me how you think this has gone so far. Tell me if this is if more Let's Build is something that you'd like to see, and just let me know, any ideas that you think I should have for it. I know it's a very obscure oak vehicle, but hey, hey-ho, let's fucking give it a go. Okay, guys, so this has been the Great Jojo Man on another Let's Build project. So we'll see you guys again on the next episode of whatever I decide to fucking put up. So, guys, see you guys again, and goodbye.